Welcome to the 18th Annual Tallgrass Film Festival. I'm Charity Hicks with the Programming Committee. Thank you everyone for joining us virtually. We are lucky to have with us Stacy Jill Calvert, writer and director of the Bra Mitzvah. Stacy is originally from Chicago and currently based out of Los Angeles. This is her first narrative short, and she has also worked as programmer and director for film festivals. Thank you, Stacy, for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why don't, I just knocked my table. Okay. Why don't you start by telling us where you got the concept for this film?
Sure. Well, it's based on a real story. When I was younger, I developed quite early. So I was about probably about 9 or 10, and my grandmother. I'm originally from Chicago, as you said, and my dad grew up in Skokie, Illinois, which was one of the most Jewish places in all of America. It was a suburb that was really built for Holocaust survivors. My family was already in the U.S. and everything, but my grandparents lived there, and kings and queens of Skokie. They loved that place. So my grandmother knew everyone. She's like, okay, we're going to go get you. You're going to get a bra. And I was like 9. I'm probably like 9 and a half. I'm like, what are you talking about? No, you have to get a bra. Okay. So we go to this local store called Schwartz's, and it's no longer there anymore. But I just remember being that kid and being freaked out of all these Jewish grandmothers, touching me, and it's a mortifying, uncomfortable experience at any age, but especially at that age.
Yeah.
So it's been an idea that's kind of been like, in my head for years. And finally, I finished my MFA about 5 years ago, and a couple of years ago, I finally got to the point, being out here and being a little bit more settled than we were when we first got out here, that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm ready to do this. Let's do this. So, it was so amazing. Was able to gather one of my best friends, who was my producer, a friend who was the DP editor, and this amazing cast and crew, and we did it in 3 days, and it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah. And there was also some like clashing of generations and sort of subcultures and things like that. Is that also drawing from personal experience?
Yeah, I mean, I am very lucky. I know there's a lot of people whose family do not support them when they come out. My parents were unbelievably supportive after the first year or so, when they had to go. My mom had to go in therapy, but that's another thing. But they were unconditional, and loving me. And then I met my wife 12 years ago, and they loved her, and I've been very lucky in that sense. But if you grow up Jewish, this is I mean, more or less like any family member, any family really in the U.S. But grow up Jewish, you have grandmothers that are just really into your face and like, come on, you're gonna do this now. Like, as uncomfortable as you can be, they will make it more uncomfortable. But they're lovely. And my Nana Golda, who is the one basically who this is based off of, she passed away when I was really little. But she was a crazy one. She was amazing. She looked, I say that when Tootsie came out, they molded it after her, because she looked exactly like that. Red hair, big glasses, just larger than life. And so when I was coming up with this, that was in the back of my head as well. And then Jacqueline Cheston, who was my DP/editor/producer, we were talking one day, and she's like, why don't we use drag queens as the bubbies? Because we were starting to cast, and I wasn't really getting who I wanted. We didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't go for, big name actors, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she's like, I know these people that do improv, and they have these characters. And so that's where I met Craig Taggart and Beth Berlin, and they came in as the bubbies. And it was just amazing. I mean, they ran with it. When they first got on set in those outfits, I was like, I could not keep my mouth from dropping over. I was like, oh my God, you guys, this is amazing. Amazing. Like, so much more than I expected. Like, oh my God. It was wonderful. So yeah. So kind of based on family stuff. When I write about my family, it's usually comedic. Like, it's stuff, I've been working on a doc/narrative about my family for a long time. And it's always the stories you're like, oh, my life is like film. I mean, it's kind of those stories that I think kind of, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I think it's those stories that, you write what you know. So this is what I know.
Yeah. Was the neck massage scene, was that based in reality at all?
No.
Okay.
Oh my God. So Bridget McManus, who is a wonderful, amazing, wonderful person, who is also a stand-up comedian. She's fantastic. She got on set. Between her, Craig, and Beth, I could not keep my mouth. Like, it was so hard to be able to yell cut and not laugh before I yelled cut, because it was just on. And so, yeah, we have a lot of outtakes. And that just kind of happened. Like, you know, I wrote the script, and some of the parts, especially the bubbies, we just kind of like left it open a little bit. We're like, here, you know what? Go play. And so they played. And same with the couch scene. That was kind of the same. We had some basic script going on, and then we're like, you know, go do your thing. And Bridget went for it. Yes.
Okay. So I read that the breakfast scene and the opening scene, that is vegan Jewish food.
Yes. Amazing. So Jasmine Singer, who plays Jen, one of the moms, was at the time an editor of Veg News, and her wife Moore are like amazing vegan activists. Jasmine's had this podcast and this nonprofit called Our Hen House for many years, and so she knew people, and she's like, I know this woman, she's doing this Jewish vegan deli. And I was like, yes, can we, you know, so Chef Megan Tucker came on board, and she created all our food for that breakfast scene, which was delicious because we got to eat it afterwards. Yeah. And she also created, did lunch for a cast and crew that day, which was so wonderful. Yeah. So she's still around. She's here in LA at this little vegan deli kind of called Besties, and so she's doing stuff there as well. But yeah, it was so much fun. It was so great. It was such a change, because I swear half my cast and crew were vegan. So that was a new concept. Like, okay, how do I feed everyone? What are we doing?
And so did you finish the short before the pandemic started? Did COVID affect any of the production?
No, we actually filmed everything last year. We were finished probably, I think, around December, maybe close to December, November, December, we were finished. Okay. And the only thing that really affected was that we can't go anywhere. We're doing, I'm so happy that festivals are still going, and they're still doing these virtual festivals, because we've been able to go to places that we might not have been able, to appear at. Which is really amazing. So yeah, that's been the big downer. We played at Chicago's Queer Festival last week, and so that was my hometown. That would have been amazing. But I mean, it's still wonderful that we're able to meet all these people virtually. I mean, I think, as you said, I run a festival too, and we've been able to have so many, I would say, deeper conversations, than you usually do at a festival, because usually it's like you have like 10 minutes after the Q&A or after the film, and you don't really get to talk to people, whereas I feel like there's been so many more conversations since we've all been doing this virtually. Yeah.
So how do you feel like COVID is affecting your future projects?
It's affecting it in the fact that, like, we could dream. I mean, affecting not in the fact of like writing anything, because you could write wherever. It's just, what is the next couple of years going to look like? How do we have to redo a production? What is a production going to look like? Do you want it to look like everyone in masks, because that's our reality right now? Or do we want to forget about this time in our lives? And I mean, I don't want to revisit it, honestly. I really don't. I mean, I think people have been doing creative things around it, and there's been some shows that have been creative about it, but I don't want to keep seeing stuff about COVID. I mean, honestly, So yeah, in that sense, it's kind of given us pause in the arts in general, is that, a lot of people don't have jobs, a lot of the funding stuff, like where's the funds, where are the funds going to come from? Are there going to be funds? A lot of organizations are struggling. And so I think that's kind of where it is right now. I'm currently, Jacqueline and Kelly and I have talked about this, and with our cast, the first day we had our first table reading, I joked, I was like, I really wanted to make this a musical, and everyone's like, what? Because I'm a Gen X kid. I grew up on John Hughes movies. I mean, granted, some problematic stuff now, if you think about it. But, you know, there is. But in that vein of like, you know, high school campy, like all that stuff that's totally up my alley. So we're kind of outlining a musical right now, and we'll see where it goes. And hopefully we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, right now it's just a lot of writing. It's a lot of writing and dreaming and scheming.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of friends here in LA who are filming. Like, people are filming, and they're doing it carefully. You know, with getting to, you know, COVID and getting compliance officers and all that stuff. But it's still not. There's not as much going on. I think it's definitely small crews, to say the least.
Right.
Yeah. All
right. Well, and so aside from your musical that you're working on, do you have any other upcoming projects you want to tell us about?
Sure. I've been working on a feature documentary about my parents called Jake and Janie and Me. And that's been going on probably about 10 years now. Documentaries take a long time to kind of percolate, and the story has changed over the time, over the past decade. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those that how do I say this without sounding morbid? It's hard for me to go back to footage. My parents passed away actually a couple of years ago, so that's part of where the story has changed, and trying to figure out where it goes and how do you put everything in one full swoop, or do you spread it out in different mediums? So that's kind of where we're at right now with that. But constantly looking at it. Hopefully the story will get out there. It's crazy, you know, like you said, my life is a film. It's a crazy story about family addiction, gambling, all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this year at Tallgrass. And hopefully we will see some more from you at future Tallgrasses.
Would love that.
Okay. It was great having you. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
No, thank you for watching the film. We'd love to hear from you. You know, find us on social media. We're at the Bra Mitzvah everywhere. So yeah, we'd love to hear from people who have seen the film. It's been one woman, this is actually really funny. One woman who contacted me out of the blue. She was like, she just saw the trailer and she's like, I love it. Oh my God, I knew this place in you know, Skokie and Highland Park. I'm like, that's the same place. So that was out of the blue. And then I found out my cousin actually went to high school with the granddaughter of the people that owned the shop. So there's a thing called Jewish geography, and it's so true. But definitely find us, and we'd love to hear from people how they liked it.
Great. Well, it's been great meeting you, and thank you again to our audience.